Let's call to order at 6:02 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Meetings Act.
Pursuant to Open Public Meetings Act, notice that this meeting was given in the annual meeting notice, which was emailed to the Herald News, the Record of the County Clerk, posted on the PCCC website and bulletin boards on December 5th, 2022.
Dr. Rhodes, roll call.
Alumni Rep White, Trustee Ocker, Trustee Drakeford, Trustee Glovin,
Present.
Trustee Diendonné,
Present.
Trustee Moody,
Present.
Trustee Nutter, Trustee Poe, Trustee Ramirez,
Present.
Smith,
Present.
Vice Chair Tanis,
Present.
Chairman Martin.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, the first order of business is consideration of the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Second. Roll.
Trustee Glovin,
Yes.
Trustee Diendonné,
Yes.
Trustee Moody,
Yes.
Trustee Poe,
Yes.
Trustee Ramirez,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tanis,
Yes.
Chairman Martin.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay.
All right, so our presentation tonight is by possibly the person who has the longest title in the college.
I didn't know that, Tom.
It's one of the most creative.
For sure.
So Tom Moore is our Assistant Dean for Career, Professional Readiness, and Experiential Learning. Okay, that is a mouthful. And Tom is going to explain to you what he does and how we have evaluated his programs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rose, and good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Tom Moore. I am the Assistant Dean for Career, Professional Readiness, and Experiential Learning. I've had to practice it a couple times to make sure I can get it out there. Really is career services, right, when we start to talk about that. Working with our students at a variety of different points inside of their academic journey in order to get them career ready to be able to make a number of different things, transition into a four-year institution to be able to pursue that bachelor's degree, maybe on for a master's or doctorate, depending on their area of study, or being able to get directly into the career field, right? We know through our AA and AS degrees, they're the transfer to be able to move on. And then our AAS degrees, we work with those students on career readiness skills to be able to get right into the workforce. All those AAS degrees are supported, or most of those AAS degrees are supported through some form of experiential learning, internship opportunities that we present with the students. And part of the task and what I've been tasked with is looking at further developing those opportunities for all of our students. So I'll talk about it in a little while, but we have an initiative, experiential learning initiative called Panthers to Professionals that we're looking to put into play. I know it's maybe a lofty goal, but my goal is to be able to try to get every student, he or she, while they're here, some form of experiential learning opportunity before they leave. That might not be a 3-credit full semester internship, but that is exposure to the field through professional interaction, whether it's shadowing, mentoring. We do a coach on call series where we use the power of Zoom to be able to bring professionals in. We run a variety of different workshops and have speakers and different engagements across the board professionally so that students can have those engagements. So we're really looking to develop those areas. But the reason that I'm here to talk to you tonight a little bit is about the way that we assess ourselves and go through the process of making sure that, I think we're doing a good job, but make sure that we are having an outside evaluator come in and take a look at what we're doing and make sure that, we're not missing anything, that there's areas that we can improve on. You'll see them later on. I don't really call them weaknesses. We call them growth opportunities. So areas that we know we can further develop. Currently, I've been with the college for 10 years right now. I am now in the academic affairs side of the house, was in student affairs and housed over there until this past July. We took on what we call it's like the caseload advisement model on how we advise our students. We started to take that into what we call the Center for Student Success. So I know I'm talking a lot of areas, but the Center for Student Success is where our students come to be advised after they come through the enrollment process and our admissions team gets them ready to go. They come over to us and then we really start to work with them on picking out the proper curriculum for them, making sure that they understand what they're looking for from a career services advisement process. We run them through a variety of kind of career assessments to look at major and career exploration. We have the idea of beginning with the end in mind. So we want to make sure that students know what they want to do. We know that all of them really think they know what they want to do, but statistics show us that 60 to 70% of college freshmen think about changing their major or do change their major. So we try to provide them with the opportunities to investigate that sooner, saving them time and money and all the headache and effort that comes with that down the road. Doesn't always happen. We provide those kind of scaffolded approaches to them as they go throughout their academic process. But we really try to, and through this caseload advisement model, ingrain those kind of things into the advisement structure and the way that we interact with students right off the bat. We've found some success with it so far in the fall semester and coming into the spring. We just had a full staff retreat today where we really worked on how we're going to continue to develop these kind of services and skills, and very excited coming out of that meeting on a lot of the things that we're going to be able to, or that we have implemented and that we're going to be implemented in the rest of the semester and throughout the summer, so that we come back into the fall. We've really got this full communication plan put together on how and where and when these students will be able to get all of those things that I was just talking about. So in that assessment that we do, we look at ourselves, we make sure that we're doing well. This past to start the process off, we go through a program review here at the college. We take a variety, a cross-section of different professionals here on the campus that come and help us to evaluate our program internally. And then after that report is put together, we bring an external reviewer in. The reviewer I worked with was from SUNY Westchester. Her name was Ghislaine Williams. She does very similar things to what I do in the Westchester campus. She came and visited us back in June of last year to be able to meet with different people here at the college, talk with them. After reading our report, she asked for specific interviews with people that she selected. That process happened. And then back in July, we got an external report from her. And that's some of the things that I'm going to be able to share with you tonight. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right, excellent. I'll jump right in here. So my slides are pretty straightforward for the most part. It is part of an administrative and educational services unit. That is the tool that we use to be able to do our program review. The external reviewer, as I just mentioned, was Professor Ghislaine Williams, and she was from SUNY Westchester. The internal team that we had was combined, as I said, kind of a cross-section of faculty and staff we had here at the college. Ms. Liz Harrison, who at the time, and now I should just preface this as well too, I was under Ms. Harrison when the report was done, and I've now moved out of the student affairs side and into the academic affairs side. So that's where I was talking about being able to ingrain ourselves a lot more with the advisement process from a career services perspective. But Ms. Harrison was my boss at the time. She still is working on the transfer services side, something that we engage with from a career perspective on a daily basis. As we just mentioned, whether those students are going out into the workforce or they're transferring to a four-year institution and provide them those services so that they are ready. Rafael Ramirez was our student activity specialist, met with a couple students from Phi Theta Kappa from our National Honor Society. So Ms. Williams was able to interview them. Talk with Dr. Gasparino, who is the department chair for human services, as well as the PT coordinator, regional coordinator, excuse me. Dr. Sharon Goldstein, who is assistant vice president and the dean of student affairs. And then Ms. Maria Marte, who is the director of student activities and works very heavily in our orientation process. So this was the interviews that were conducted by Ms. Williams. She spoke with all of these individuals when she came. This was the criteria that the program review was done under. They looked at the mission. Ms. Williams looked at the mission and goals. She looked at the operational planning, the quality of the programs and services that we were providing, resource adequacy, student learning development and success, technology, the collaborations and partnerships that we have on the campus as well as off campus, and as well as human resources perspective. And that is more about kind of the personnel that was inside of our department. Looked at strengths and then looked at the growth opportunities that we talked about. Some of the strengths that we had come from office leadership, and just to give you a little bit of information about that, and not trying to toot my own horn a little bit, but that was kind of how we were engaging from the position of our office with our students. They found that each of the students, staff, and faculty and administrators that they had interviewed were able to provide countless examples of how our department was being a leader on campus and providing that leadership, those leadership opportunities to students. So it was a very, very good strength to be able to have. We're happy that we're headed in the right direction. And that also comes from the leadership of the college as well too, and their overall vision of how we're moving forward. Programs and services, as I mentioned, we really try to begin with the end in mind. So we do a variety of different things, offering students both one-on-one as well as group sessions. Those are done in person. Those are done virtually as well too. We know with the pandemic, Zoom became a day-to-day tool that we have. That is not anything that's going away. We've embraced that. We really find that it is beneficial for our students. A lot of students that we might have missed before in the past, when we had hours of 9 to 4, Monday to Friday, usually a late night on a Thursday till about 7 o'clock. But we've had countless interactions with students that are after 7 o'clock. And that's okay. Student can't make it, working full time, has family commitments, whatever it may be. Zoom feature and being able to be online has really allowed us to have that extra reach to be able to speak with the students and engage with them after hours if they need that. So we were really happy to see that they reported back that we were headed in the right direction with that, and that those services align with the NACE competencies. So we know there's a lot of organizations, both nationally and regionally, when we get into higher education. NACE stands for the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Really is kind of the gold standard inside of the career services area. NACE came up with competencies. These competencies look into things like leadership, professionalism, how students harness technology. And these were reported back from both the employers. So they talk with employers across the country to say, what are you seeing or not seeing from college graduates, candidates that are going to be coming to you? What could they be doing better? What could we as colleges across the country be helping them to understand? What career readiness skills could we be infusing into, the day-to-day things that come out of a career services office, but also what we ingrain into our curriculum. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while, but we have done a lot of great things to be able to put the career services, the career readiness skills into some of the curriculum that we have here on campus. Communications and students became another good one. The Phi Theta Kappa students were really able to report out well. We do work very, very well with Phi Theta Kappa, but also with a lot of the entities across the campus, whether it's EOF, our STEM department, the TRIO grant that we have here. So any of those areas where we're really able to work with students, we jump in. Again, we do those things virtually. We do them via Zoom. There's a lot of correspondence where we use the student portal as well too. I know I was just talking with VP Morton about that. There's a lot of great things that we're going to be doing with our student portal. It is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a social media platform internally for our students to be able to use, communicate services to them, events that we've got going on, and we're making a lot of changes to that right now. That's only going to get better for the students. So it's another great tool that we have. Internal collaborations and outreach, we talked a little bit about those, but we do really try to partner with all of the student services that we have here on campus, as well as the academic services. And that really shows with the transition we've made since this report was done from the student affairs side into the academic affairs side, to be able to really be with those students from the moment that they get in here, and even sometimes before that process, and then all the way through their life cycle here as they move out. And then finally, the Career Readiness Faculty Assessment Survey. I've been working with the Center for Teaching and Learning, which is Miss Nancy Silvestro. We realized over the pandemic that obviously things slowed down a little bit. From a career services perspective, we're not in the classroom on a day-to-day basis, so we needed to find innovative ways to reach out to not only the students, but the faculty as well too, and let them know that we're there and try to find different ways to work with them. So through the Center for Teaching and Learning, we put together a survey and we assessed faculty members to find out a little bit of what we were doing well, what we might be able to do better, and then areas that they wanted to see us be able to work with them. The survey was a collaboration both with the institutional research as well as the Center for Teaching and Learning. And we really got, which I thought was one of the better accolades we had. They found it to be impressive and innovative in the fact that we were moving forward and trying to find ways to take those NACE career competencies and educate our community about them, but then find ways to be able to integrate them into curriculum so that those career readiness skills are being used with students as soon as possible. On the flip side of that, we had some growth opportunities. So we talked about some things in the staff area, right? And these are things from an external reviewer. So these are typical things that you're going to see pop up. I think we could all say at any entity that we've been, we'd love to have more staff, more people, more resources, right? But we work with that the best we can. This was something where they were talking about we're potentially understaffed, but one of the beautiful parts of moving over into the academic affairs side is that I now have a larger staff. Inside the Center for Student Success, where I mentioned we have pathway coordinators, and those pathway coordinators work with specific sets of students. So the caseload advisement model that I mentioned before goes into our pathways, and I'm sure everybody's, well, I shouldn't assume anything. Has everybody heard of the Guided Pathways Initiative that we have here at the college? So in that Guided Pathways Initiative, we're really trying to start students off inside of social sciences pathway. So that'd be psychology, human services, psych, social, human services, the STEM pathway where they can go into engineering or science or technology. We try to put them inside of those pathways in the buckets so that they're taking similar core courses, and that while they're investigating if what they want to do when they grow up, they have time to make those decisions inside of a pathway. So if they do change their mind a little bit, I want to go from engineering into something that's more math-based or into an IT field, I'm kind of in the same neighborhood a little bit. I'm not taking completely different courses. So by working with those pathway coordinators, we are able to extend our reach from a career services perspective. Moving over there last semester, a lot of the semester was spent on training and working with these pathway coordinators for them to understand some of the career services things that we're integrating, and then also to hear from them from an advisement side on what they're seeing or not seeing from students and how we would be able to better accommodate our students. The website is something that we've talked about. Our career webpage was a couple clicks into the website when you went to it. We've already worked with our marketing team to be able to revamp that, improve the offerings and the language that's on that page, but also make that more accessible, both for internal students and then as well as external prospective students. Experiential learning opportunities and job placement was something that we got dinged on. We've already started to work on that. As I mentioned, the Panthers to Professionals project that we're looking to put together, and also working with our foundation. We have started to work with some of the companies and organizations that are a part of our foundation to make connections with them. Spencer Savings Bank would probably be one of the better examples. They are part of our foundation. We had an information session in this room just last week where we brought 2 representatives from Spencer Savings Bank to sit on a panel and speak with our students in the business pathway about what it meant to be inside of the world of business. One of the young ladies that was from Spencer was from their marketing department, and another one was an accountant that was there. So they were able to share underneath that business umbrella 2 different areas that students may be able to go into. And those 2 ladies were able to sit on a panel with 3 other professionals that talked about a variety of different areas of the business sector. So those are the kind of things that we've been able to really kind of step into. We understand that we need to develop those learning opportunities, and this is the way we're really starting to educate our community on that, and then work with partners in the community to provide those kind of opportunities. Communications and communication with faculty specifically. This has been another great thing of moving over to the academic affairs side. We really already are addressing these kind of things inside of the pathway. Not only am I working with the faculty members, but there's a team with that pathway coordinator to be working with faculty members. So we found a nice kind of combination of where sometimes it's more related to the academic curriculum and the inside the classroom type of things that are going on. And then when it comes to some of the career development that may be outside of the classroom, it's a nice kind of 1-2 punch that we have now to be able to work with faculty. So if we work to be able to, improve those communication processes, but also make more inroads with faculty. And then another thing that they started to talk to us about, which was already in the mix, was the unit change, moving from the student affairs side over to the academic affairs side. And that has already, I think, really found a great return on investment. We're just in students' faces more in a positive way. We're able to work closely with our advisement staff. Really allows us to extend our reach a little bit further. So being over into the academic fair side has been a really great shot in the arm for the career services department. Recommendations that came through in there, obviously we're talking about hiring more staff, something that would always be said, but as I just mentioned, we've really been working best to be able to work with all of our pathway coordinators. I think it's coming out really well. Partnering with our web designer, the marketing communications department, those are things like we just talked about based off the web page and being able to make sure that we're marketing our services. We've worked very, very closely with all 3 of these areas to be able to do just that. Developing a strategic plan. So when they started to talk about that, they were talking about rolling out tools. We have a tool called Handshake, which is a recruitment platform. It's an online repository similar to a job board like Indeed or one of those that you may have seen out there that our students can set up accounts for. So we've already started to put together a process of how we start to address that job placement and some of those back-end return on investment type questions that come up. We have created some videos. We're in the process of creating more of those videos. We know our students nowadays are looking for quick hits information that comes through in a lot of different videos, little small tips, snippets of things. We're really trying to approach that, and using something like the student portal has given us an outlet to be able to do that. And then also developing more videos that are going to be up on our web pages. So that's some things to come. We have created a faculty advisement team and a committee through the Center for Teaching and Learning. We have been able to work with the faculty to develop a community of practice. That community of practice is made up of both adjunct and full-time faculty members, cross-section of the institution, that are helping us to be able to ingrain these career readiness competencies into classroom, hopefully into the curriculum a little bit more as we go. And nice part about that is we're going to be actually presenting to the Professional Development Committee, which is made up of faculty members next month in April. So really excited about being able to share with them all the things that we've been doing in the community practice, and hopefully really get them excited to be able, to be able to help us a little bit more on bringing this out to the larger community. We partner with specific academic deans and curriculum curriculum chairs. That has really started to happen as we moved into the academic affairs side very seamlessly. So we are headed in that direction. And then we're seeking out other resources and trying to attend the NACE professional conferences that are available. There's a lot of different things that are out there. As the world is starting to open it back up, we're really trying to take advantage of all these things so that we make sure we're just up to date on the most latest trends, best practices that we might be able to provide to students. And this was just a snippet from the final thoughts that we got. I wanted to be able to share with everybody. I think that we were, it was nice to be able to hear this. Obviously, you want to hear good things when you go about doing a program review like this, but taking the ego out of it, so to speak, it's really nice to just know that we are headed in the right direction and that we are currently providing great services to the students. And it's always nice when somebody comes in from third party. I promise we didn't pay her to say this. It's just a nice thing that she reported to us. But really, really nice thing to be able to hear. And instills us to keep moving forward with stuff. So I hit on a couple of these things, but just on the last slide to talk about stuff that's presently happening, what we're moving forward in the future. We have started to really be strategic about integrating careers into key stages of students' academic journey. So whether that is in the onboarding and orientation phase, there's modules that we have, there's career modules that are part of that process. So students start to understand why it's important to ask yourself the questions of, who am I, where am I going, how do I get there? They are provided at that point with a tool, with a couple different tools that would help them to investigate that further. Inside of our EOS courses, they have taken in some textbooks that are more career oriented. So as we work with that population of students, they're already starting to say, all right, hey, where do I want to go with this? Why am I in school? I'm learning the language, but what are the things that I want to, apply that to as I develop my education? Our developmental English course, and we know we have a large section of our students here that take developmental English. There's a mandatory career research project that is now part of that class. So students have to go and investigate, what they want to do with the major that they've chosen, what career field they want to get into. And then they report out on that, which is a really nice piece because it adds that public speaking aspect to it, which we know a lot of us get nervous doing, especially students as an 18, 19-year-old. But it forces them to start to say, hey, not only am I thinking about what I want to do, but I have to be able to convey that to everybody else. So that kind of takes a little bit of a different step, but allows them to further look into the major that they've chosen and make sure it's the right one for them. Our college success course, COL 103, is our college onboarding, right? Mandatory as well. Mandatory, I'll say the word mandatory for our students that come in their first semester, and they take an assessment inside of that course. It's called Focus 2. This is an assessment that helps them to look into their major and career and make sure that they're headed in the right direction. And then based off the answers they give, it looks at their interests, skills, and abilities and matches that up with occupations. That allows us to work with them and kind of work backward. If this is the occupations you're getting, what are the majors we have here and how would you get from where you are to where you want to be? All of those things happen before a student gets into a 101 level course. So if I'm going to take Introduction to Criminal Justice, Introduction to Business, I'm drawing a blank now, but any of those intro 101 courses that I'd be taking, hopefully I've had a couple opportunities to be able to engage myself in this kind of conversation, speak with my faculty, speak with Career Services Department to make sure that I'm headed in the right direction. And that comes back to what I talked about when I opened up. I'm just saying we want to make sure they get a good return on that investment and that they've investigated and looked into it, because we know the majority of them are questioning that or really, really, truly thinking about changing their major. So by the time you get to that 101 level course, hopefully you've had 3 or 4 opportunities to look into that and really solidify that you are headed in the right direction. On top of that, the Career Readiness in the Classroom project is what I was working with the Center for Teaching and Learning on, and that's turned into our community of practice, taking that on the road for our professional development in April. And then we are working on developing and have already started to take this learning initiative, for experiential learning initiative we have, calling it Panthers to Professionals. Really trying to develop those opportunities for students outside of the classroom to get exposure and experience from professionals, from different, different professionals throughout the cross sections of the different, professions that they want to get into. I know that's not the nicest way to say it, but really trying to get them opportunities and exposure to the field before they graduate. Questions?
Yeah, I have one.
I think let me take Zoom off there like this.
Yeah, hi, I'm trustee Glovin, Michael Glovin. How do you introduce yourself to students and let them know the things that, all these things that we've been talking about are available to them? You reach out to them when they enroll?
We are housed inside of the Center for Student Success. So a lot of our students, when they come over to register for classes for the first time, are provided with those services, or we tell them about those services. We have advertisement both externally on our webpage as well as internally for students on our student portal as well. We make classroom visits. We really try to get around just as best we can. I don't know if that answers it.
No, that answers it. I was just wondering if you reach out to them when they enroll, or obviously once they come to class.
But I apologize. It's just getting a little muffled. I couldn't hear what you said last there.
No, I was wondering if when a student enrolls at the college, all these manifested programs are made available to them. How do they know about it? Other than that's what I like.
Hey, Mike, you're not getting into the microphone.
All right. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Much better. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moore. I was just wondering, how do you reach out to enrollees, or do you just reach out to them when they go to class? Is that how it works?
We scaffold that. We have a communications plan where we get emails out to them. There are a lot of emails that are sent to students when they're new, whether that's in the onboarding process as they come through admissions. But as they become students and start to get in their pathway, they get an email that comes from the pathway coordinator that also has my information on there as well too. Welcome them to college, welcome them into their pathway, and then letting them know about the services that we provide. And then if they're here physically, yes, we're here on a day-to-day basis. So myself or my staff are engaging with those students when they come into the center.
All right, thank you. That's what I really wanted to know.
No problem.
So I noticed that one of the growth areas was to develop a strategic plan, but I know the college already just had a strategic plan. So is it your division is going to develop its own action plan rather than strategic plan where you talk about these different goals and objectives at?
We are tapping into the strategic plan that we have here as the college. So while we might that's probably a good way to put it, an action plan together on how we're going to approach that, all of this is ingrained into the goals and the mission of the college with the strategic plan.
Strategic plan.
Not at all, no, and we're not, and that's, I think a lot of the things that we're trying as an institution to kind of uncouple ourselves from in some of those ways. So we are certainly not trying to muddy the waters in any
So
way.
I think that your present and future, just a suggestion, your
Please.
present and future slide, some of those could be, which you can action plan through your strategic plan. So make one a goal and then your objectives right underneath there so that it's sort of
Spell it
kind
out
of
for
like
everybody.
marries each other, because that gets kind of crazy when you have all these strategic plans going at the same time.
Understood, without a doubt. I appreciate the
Thank
suggestion.
you.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much for everybody's
Thank
time
you.
tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Great. That was great. So a year, probably, I'm gonna guess a year from today, we're gonna be probably visited by middle states. We will have a team of people on campus who will probably meet with the board of trustees at some time, either Monday or Tuesday, while they're here. And they're gonna ask you the question, what do you know about assessment that's going on at the college? Here's an example. This is what we do in every department of the college, where somebody like Tom, who runs an area, they take a look at themselves. They do their own little self-study of looking at, they make some recommendation, but then they have somebody from the outside who's not involved with the college, who's an expert in the field, take a look at what we're doing. They come on campus, they do it through Zoom in some cases, and they will ask a lot of questions. And then, these professionals will say, yep, we think you're on the right track. Or usually they'll say, yep, we think you're on the right track, but have you thought of doing this? Have you thought of doing that? So it's not enough that, Tom says we're doing great. It's that the people from the outside have validated what we do. And we do this in every department of the college, and usually on about a 5-year cycle. We don't do this every year. So it's every 5 years, each department in the college, both on the academic area for each department and major, but also the administrative areas like career services. go through that. So, one of the reasons, and we've shared many of these with you throughout the years, but this is why we do this, and just to give you a sense of, how we hold ourselves responsible to make sure we're doing our best here at the college. We hear from today, you'll be asked that question.
Right then.
All right, so we're going to talk about two things here tonight. One is you have in your packet, and Stephen, I'm going to turn to you you have what we typically call the variance or statement of expenditure and projections.
Yes.
You want to walk them through it?
Sure. So I usually like to start where we won't hit one thing that you should hit. So if you go to the very bottom of the page, the bottom line, where are we? So the first column is the budget. That's going to be 0 because we provided a balanced budget. The next column is our year-to-date actuals. So that's up through January 31st. We're a little behind due to the audit, but those are actuals. So that's where we stand as of the end of January 31, 2023, 13.1 million. The next column is what I want you to focus on. So that's us taking a look at our year-to-date actuals and then looking at what happened last year, looking at other trend data. Where do we think we're going to finish? So we think we're going to have a surplus of about $1 million at the end of the year. Again, that's based on everything we know at that point in time. It's going to fluctuate a little bit, but we think, again, looking at trend data, looking at all the expenditures that we know, the big items, we're able to do a good forecast on the big items, which would be the personnel benefits. And so we think we're going to, again, have a surplus of about $1 million. The key for the surplus, well, I'll start with the revenue now that I've gone to the bottom line. So if you go to a major group that says total revenue, you'll see we're short about 3.4 million. So the question should be, well, why are we short? It'll be apparent to you. One number, which is the 1.8 million, we're short. And what that is we had anticipated some HERF funding, which was the pandemic aid. And so when we went through the audit last month, I mentioned to the board that we accelerated our usage. So we showed a higher than anticipated surplus last year. It's because we took money that we thought we were going to forecast out and be able to use this year. And we did that for a couple of reasons. The primary reason is we weren't sure when we could do our last draw. We don't want to risk losing money, so we drew right away. Second piece is we want to put the money to work for us faster by investing. Yields are pretty good now, so we wanted to get as much as possible and start investing it. So those are the primary reasons that we did that. And that's consistent with other schools and community colleges in New Jersey. So that's the large piece of the variance. The others are the next one I'll point out, which is the 740,000. Well, that's a good variance, even though it's a negative number. That number represents, I brought to you a budget and said, I can't balance the budget without a plug. Got the approval of the president. That plug is us using the surplus from the reserve. So what I'm saying to you now is we don't think we're going to dip into the surplus. So those are your two big numbers. And then, so again, question, you're short on revenues, how are you going to cover that? If you go down to the expenditures, just the top line there, we're going to cover that primarily in two pieces. Salaries, we budget at full strength. We have open positions throughout the year. So we have salary savings for those positions that we don't fill. And we do the same thing for the benefit side. We budget for benefits for an employee, but we budget for family, which is higher because we might get an employee that's single and want single benefits, but we assume a conservative approach. And so we budget on the high end for benefits. And as you can see there, we have a 3.2 million surplus for salaries, and then we have 424,000 savings on the benefits. And so that's kind of the wash that covers our shortfall in revenue, and that's going to help us put us in a surplus position.
So the number you mean?
So on the variance report, there's a section that's the major heading says expenditures, and right below that will be your salaries and your fringe. And so again, I like to start at the bottom and finish at the bottom. What you need to know is we have a surplus based on all the evidence that we have at this point in time. That concludes my report. I'll take your questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, let me just ask you, last month we did, when you presented the budget, Steve, we talked about approximately $20 million cushion. Is this going to be added to that, or is that included in this number?
That'll be added to.
So now it's really going to be 21 million. Is that the?
If it is like yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And most significantly, I just, Stephen said it, but I just want to emphasize the one thing he said. Not only is it that we're projecting $1 million that will be, but we're also not going to use the money from reserves that we planned on using. So this could have been presented even in a way that had, 740,000 from the top, from the fund balance, and that HERF money that we were going to use. We could actually, be saying that we have almost a $3 million surplus. There's another way you could have said it, but I think this is a much more accurate way of doing it. So, I'm not saying some things can't happen between now and the end of the year, but right now, this is the best estimate of where we are. And I think it's great.
It is
Very good news. Absolutely.
going in the other direction.
Yes.
I just have a question that may be silly, but you have bad debts, transfers, and grants, and then there's not a number there, but then in actual year to date, you have 332,000. So I'm a little confused.
Good question. So usually when we budget for the bad debt, we show it net of the revenue. So we'll have a revenue, in this particular case, we'll say tuition. We would have projected tuition at 23, and then we subtract that from the bad debt from that number. We had some unusual write-offs. So for example, we wanted to clear the students' accounts so that they can come back without any barriers to enrollment. We wanted to show that number separately because that's not that normal bad debt that we would show. And so we had it separately, and that's why there's no budget. That number is going to grow a little bit as we find more students that we try to knock down that barrier and bring them back, and we want that to stand out separately. That's not a usual line for that particular bad debt, but that's all bad debt.
So the $332,000 is for those students that you paid off their bad debt.
Correct.
Got it.
That's
All right, thank you.
100% students, yes.
We think we're gonna spend some more of that, as the year, we've had, obviously when we got extra money from the federal government based on the pandemic, one of the allowed uses of that money was they understood that college students are going to get themselves in trouble during the pandemic, that they want to go to school, but they lost their jobs, they had extra expenses, they had to take care of their families. And they said, if you want to use some of this money to help clear students' accounts, you can do that.
We had also paid for the students that weren't, because they owed, we also paid those off. Did we retain any of those? Did any of those come back?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Rebecca's here from enrollment management, and that's been a key thing that they've been doing.
Absolutely, yeah, we especially last summer, we had a fairly aggressive campaign to bring back those students. And a lot of them, a higher number than expected, did come back in the
It was a
fall.
couple hundred, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, and then also re-enrolled in the spring as well, so it's really successful.
And then I would say, today I'm like that.
Good.
Sorry, I apologize.
Not a
So
problem.
from those 300 or whatever, those hundreds of students, have we partnered them up with anybody to kind of retain them to have like their own mentors, so that way we kind of not babysit them, but say, hey, how are you, so that we don't lose them again, I guess.
Yeah, so I think this caseload advisement is sort of like feeds right into that, so that they get an advisor attached to them that is gonna keep an eye on them, make sure they're staying on track in their academic program. So yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that at the end, that's what you want to report out, like, call it ESSER funding. They give us this money. We retain this amount of kids and these many graduate. I think at the end, to report that out is sort of like
You got it.
you're doing our job, so.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just say, we just signed up with another initiative with our offices, the Secretary of Higher Education with OSHI. And we're doing a similar effort right now. We're just kicking it off right now. To bring back, and we went back, so for the last summer, we went back, I think it was 2 years, and for this other effort, we're going back to 10 years. So students who have some college but no degree, who were enrolled at some point in the past 10 years, so similar success with this.
My secretary, she's one.
Well, that's the thing, you've heard this as a national trend of all these folks who, at some point in their life started college, but never got any credential out of it, whether it's a certificate or a recognized credential or degree or something like that. It's estimated in New Jersey, it's somewhere between 1 million and 2 million adults we only have 8 million people in New Jersey. And the estimate is there's between 1 and 2 million adults who fall into that category. And the governor has put money into the budget, and it was to do this initiative, and that's what Rebecca's talking about, that we're taking advantage of now, and he has put money in for next year's budget as well, which is, I think, our next topic.
Yes.
Thank you, yeah.
So I'll kick it off, then I'll let Dennis take it over. So we were unfortunately somewhat disappointed in the governor's budget that he presented. You folks in K-12, you got.
I was flat funded.
You were flat funded.
I was flat.
Well, a lot.
She was one of a few,
What, yeah,
one of the few that were flat funded, a lot of them.
but there's a lot of new money in K-12. Unfortunately, there is no new money in higher education. So we are flat funded again, and that puts us at still puts us at a level that is below where we were 20 years ago in real dollars, not adjusting for inflation or anything. We are, 20 million below, truthfully, where Governor Whitman funded the community colleges in her last budget. We are 20 million below that level right now. We worked hard with, the governor's office, and, he had other priorities, and I'm not against the other priorities. They were a lot of them are things we believe in. So now it falls upon us to go to the legislature, and we asked for 20 million more, and we're going to still see what we can do with the legislature. There is one thing in the budget which we are very pleased about. The governor. When he was running for office initially, one of his campaign stops was here at the college, and we had a full crowd in the gymnasium. And one of the things he announced when he was running, that he wanted to, he didn't call it at that time, but he outlined what has become the Community College Opportunity Grant program, basically free community college. And what he did was that this is a promise that he absolutely delivered upon, that it is now a permanent program in the state. And up to this year, it was anyone who comes from a family with adjusted gross income under $65,000 a year could come here tuition free. Last year, he increased that anyone who is between 65,000 and 80,000 can come for half tuition, that they would cover it. And we, through our foundation, said we will cover the other half of that tuition, so that students who want to come to the college, anyone who's coming from a family where it's under $80,000 a year, can come here for free. What the governor has proposed in his budget now is that anyone whose family income is between 80,000 and 100,000 can have a third of their tuition paid by the state of New Jersey. We're very pleased by that, and applaud the governor for that effort, that he's done. And he pledged to make college affordable for everyone in New Jersey, and I think getting up to $100,000 is pretty good. So
definitely, and I think that the last year's budget was $39.8 million. He added another $4.75 million. so that he could achieve that goal. So, Dr. Rose and I were at the New Jersey
Council of County Colleges.
Council of County Colleges last evening. There's gonna be a campaign that we'll send out to all of you that they're launching to start advocating for more money for the community colleges in the different areas. And so, part of that's gonna be reaching out to your local elected officials, advising them, because I always like to say what the governor proposes, the legislature disposes. So, the legislature has a lot to say. And I think yesterday, the Senate added another 100 million to some of the districts.
K-12.
K-12.
Yes, I didn't get it, not. Yes.
But so, we'll send out information to all of you this way, and there's gonna be an easy portal that you can sign on to, send a letter, and we're gonna just get all of our trustees to, participate, get the faculty to participate, more importantly, get our students to participate. So I think when we do that, we might have success we had, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Yep. Well, and even last year, we got the legislature to add $5 million, to our budget. So, hey, we are going to work it, but, legislators do pay attention when they hear from people like us. And they do want to hear that. I had a good talk with Senator Poe last week down in Atlantic City. We met up and this is what we talked about. And we, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And, they need to they hear from me all the time. If you run into them and they hear from you, that's even better, and they do keep track of these offices, how many letters they receive and how many phone calls they receive. And, when people ask, when they show what your priorities are, that's important. So we're gonna work hard to try and make sure that the legislature, and the good thing, and I will also say, there were times, previous governors who I shall not mention their names, when they proposed a budget and you went to the legislature and asked for more money, they held it against you.
Yeah.
They did not want you to question their judgment of what they proposed in their budget. This governor is totally different. He makes it clear that after he does the best job, what he thinks is his best thinking, but then he believes that go talk to the legislature, and I'm open to the legislature and see what their judgment is, and if they think that we can tweak the budget and add a little here and take away a little there, he's fine with that. So we go to the legislature with the full blessing of the governor, and that's a great position to be in. Yep. Right there.
Okay.
All right, so new degree program, AAS in surgical technology, Jackie. Sure.
Okay, I'm really happy to be here tonight again to ask for your approval of a new degree program, the Associate in Applied Science in Surgical Tech. This is a go-to-work degree, not a transfer degree. And apparently there's plenty of work in the county for these people. So the first question that you might ask me is, what do these people do? What they do is, and if you've had the unfortunate experience to be in the OR, they were actually in the OR with you, assisting the doctor. They maintain the sterile field, they put up the instruments, they hand the doctor the instruments, and they're a very important part of the healthcare team. Now, going back in time, the nursing
when
school,
Jackie was a young nurse.
This was even before I was a nurse. They actually had trained the nurses in nursing schools as part of the curriculum to actually do this job. But even when I went to nursing school, we didn't go to the OR. You just went to the OR to observe. So that's what they do. And where do they work? They don't only work in hospitals, in general hospitals, they can work in these surgery centers. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why there's such a need for them now, because there's so many surgery centers popping up all over the place. Okay, and what is it? It's a 60 credit program, 20 credits are general ed, 40 credits are surgical tech courses, which a lot of them involve hospital experiences. And the hospitals, if you read in the packet, we have several letters of support from hospitals in the area, from St. Joe's, I think from
St. Mary's, St. Clair's.
definitely. St. Mary's, St. Clair's, St. Mary's just can't wait till we produce some of these.
They are saying it to me every time I see them, yes.
And what are their wages? So it's really important now, since you saw the proposal, the standards for academic degree programs, that we look at programs in terms of what's going to be the wage. Is it a family sustaining wage? So according to Dr. Ho, it's $59,000 a year, but that doesn't include on-call time. So you have to remember that these people do take call out of the OR when they're bringing on Saturdays and Sundays. So they could, if they really put their mind to it, they could probably make more money.
Oh, they work overtime.
Yeah, overtime, call,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
No, but even overtime in the hospital, yeah.
Let's see, what else can I tell you? So we're expecting to start the program in the fall, hopefully. This went through governance, so you're the last step at the college. And hopefully, if you approve the program tonight, it will go out for a 30-day review. And this program will go out to every college president in the state, and they have 30 days to respond. And then we will take it on to the state after that. So it's on its way, and we plan to house it, of course, in Passaic. Passaic is looking more health science looking each day. So this will be, let's see, we have the nurses, the RN program, we house the LPN program. We have a very successful medical assistant certificate program out there. We have a dialysis tech, and now we're going to be adding surgical technology out there. And Brian is building us an OR.
Three operating rooms.
So
Three
the
operating.
question, when it's all approved and said and done, and in my good old town of Passaic, are we thinking about doing any dual enrollment type of articulation with the high schools?
Well, you could certainly start off by doing the general ed. There's a 20 credit general ed requirement. But you know, we would have to see about that. We'd be using the lab for a lot of their courses.
We're down the street.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
They can walk down,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
no problem.
I think it's an excellent opportunity
It
for a career.
No, absolutely it is. And even one of the members of the staff said her sister is a traveling surgical tech. So that means that there's need all over the country. It's just like traveling nurses. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Why the review by the other presidents?
It's part of the state review
That's
process.
part of the legislation in 1994, when they did away with the Department of Higher Education.
Right.
The requirement is that all programs be sent to all colleges so they can comment on them and say if they support it or oppose it.
Really?
And then we have to send the letters.
And the reason why they would oppose it is, let's say Bergen, Essex, and County College of Morris all had surgical tech programs, and they're having trouble getting students into that.
Okay.
They would say, well, why is Passaic starting a new program when we can't even fill our existing programs? That's typically the kind of thing that you would.
I just want to make one comment. It's in your packet that we did compare our potential program with other programs in the area, and you can see most of them are expensive. And I think Bergen only has a certificate program. The other thing I failed to mention is that we are going to seek a specialty accreditation for this program so that the students can get certified. That's the new thing now. They have to have a certification.
So just like you heard from Tom before about program review,
Right.
we also do a program review basically before we start the program.
Yes.
And so we have a consultant from Camden County College that has been running a surgical tech program for years. And she's been working with us for probably almost a year and a half, 2 years now. She visited Passaic, gave us thoughts on, all those little nuances of, you're gonna need a rack here to store things, you're gonna need this, don't do this, don't do this, how exactly you should set up the room. So, you go through, it's a long, to get to where we are tonight here, it's a long process. We've probably been for about 2 years now, we're working on this. And so it's.
They don't make it easy.
I'm just, what Jackie just said, how Passaic is becoming our health science, and Patty Medeiros is here tonight, who runs our Passaic campus. Why don't you tell them what you told us this afternoon?
Okay. Well, our medical assistant program is being recognized through the county and through the state, that we're happy to share that. Well, we're in the talks that Valley Hospital has reached out to us to teach their medical assistants to get the certification. So we're talking about 40 student hospitals and other hospitals too. So, yeah.
That's new news we just heard this afternoon, so that's, when you build the right programs, that's what happens, They got a new big hospital to fill, yes, they do.
Okay.
All right, next, we have in your packet a resolution for what is now former trustee Yolanda Estiche. I think you all know Yolanda's been a big part of this college for a very long time, and just we can't, her dedication to the college, its mission. Yolanda had told us early on, she actually took English as a second language courses here at the college at one point in her life. And, she was just, someone we were so proud of. And, through the years, and, some of us who have been here for a while, I know Barbara will remember her trips to Washington with us. And if you remember her when she was accosted by Senator Booker out in the street. We were walking outside of the Senate office building, and we're walking down the street, and obviously he recognized her, I guess, or something like that. And we're walking down the street, and all of a sudden, this sizable man, Senator Booker, all of a sudden he skipped Mike, he skipped me, he skipped Barbara, he goes right to Yolanda, and so she had her connections, and so I'm sure you will be happy to support this resolution honoring Yolanda. And I'll do it. It's part of the consent agenda. So we're fine. We have purchases of goods and services here. Nothing extraordinary here, except I will just say we may need to call a quick special meeting, and it will just be on Zoom somewhere between this meeting and the next meeting. We have a project that we've been trying to do now for months. It is in our childcare center here, and we have a very tight window in the summer in order to get this work done. Between when school ends in late June, and we also have summer programs here in our childcare center. So they're telling me if we wait till our April meeting, we will probably miss the window to do it this summer. So the bids are being opened on Thursday. We don't even know yet. Hopefully we have successful bidders, and we will be able to do that. So we may be contacting you at some point just for a quick 10-minute, meeting to approve a contract. Try not to do that, but that's what happens every once in a while. And I would just, we do not need an executive session tonight, but I will just announce one of those bittersweet things that our Dean of Students, Sharon Goldstein, has decided to retire after many years at the college, and we'll say more about Sharon later on. And she's going to be here through the summer, so we're happy that she's doing that. But Sharon has made incredible contributions to the college, and I guess every once in a while you gotta let somebody retire. It's like we want people to stay forever, and that's. We did run into Professor Bookbinder the other day, who you remember, retired last year after 50 years at the college, and he finally said, I'm glad I retired. I should have done it earlier, but he stayed 50 years. And I did want to, on a sad note, just note that Professor Ed Mosley passed away last week. And, you know, Ed, you may remember Ed came here and not too long ago, and we, you know, bestowed upon him, you know, Professor Emeritus, and you may remember when he was here that night, you know, he was already declining. And he passed away, I guess, a week ago today. So he's in all our prayers and thoughts, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that is what we've got.
Okay, so moving on, we have a motion to adopt resolution number 3. Consent resolution items are set forth in the memoranda dated March 21st. Services, new degree program, resolution for Yolanda Skichet. Second, roll.
Trustee Drake,
Yes.
trustee Glover,
Yes.
trustee Diaz-Bonnet,
Yes.
trustee Moody,
Yes.
trustee Poe,
Yes.
trustee Ramirez,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
vice chair Dennis,
Yes.
chairman Marco.
Yes. Okay, are there any remarks from the public? Yes.
I have one. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike, and some of you know me as Barbara's son, which is a great honor. But I come tonight with wearing a completely different hat. I am the founder and the president of the Hawthorne Pride Alliance over in Hawthorne. And we are 3 years old, but in that 3 years, we've grown from 7 members to 29 members. So as President Rose just said, when you build the right program, people come. And what we do at the Alliance is we bring the LGBTQ community and their allies together to educate, to motivate, to dedicate, and to celebrate. That is the community that we build. Over the past 3 years, we have given out $1,700 worth of scholarships to people who are coming to Passaic County Community College or elsewhere. And we do that through many different activities. And what really has become our golden child, is, if you will, is we have done 3 theatrical productions. We are now in rehearsal for our 4th. In October, we made a lot of money to fund our scholarship. We did the Moises Kaufman's famous The Laramie Project, which is the Matthew Shepard story. It sold out for 2 nights. Our activities run from September to June. And at the end of every June, at the end of every Pride Month, when all our Pride Month activities are over, and in 3 years, we've gotten the Pride flag raised in Hawthorne. And this year, we are working furiously to bring the first ever Pride Fest to Hawthorne. In the middle of doing a show. I'm good for now. But at the end of June.
We know your mother.
Yes. At the end of June, we take a moment as all of us gather to celebrate those people who have helped us pave the way. And we have a beautiful little luncheon at the Brownstone called the Champions of Equality. Those are names that were given to us, and we sit around, all 20 whatever us are, and we evaluate how have these names helped us with our mission statement. Celebrate, dedicate, motivate, and educate. And we crown them in a beautiful brunch surrounded by loved ones and families and friends. We crown them the Champions of Equality. Well, that brings me to why I'm here. We have announced our 2023 honorees. One of them is in this room. So I am proud to announce, as president of the Hawthorne Pride Alliance, the following people will be our Champions of Equality in June. For Champion of Equality for service to the community, Commissioner Sandy Lazara. For champion of equality for justice. His name is Derek Demiri. He was the one who started the Gay Straight Alliance at Hawthorne High School. And now he's fighting for civil liberties. For the champion of equality for LGBTQIA leadership, Christian Fuscarino, the executive director of Garda State Equality. For champion of equality for media, John and Sharon Van Fleet from Tap Into Portsmouth. But it's with my greatest honor to announce to all of you. For champion of equality for excellence in education, and he will be honored in June, is Dr. Steve Williamson. I also want to notice, he does this unassumingly, but you know he's a champion of equality when he wears the transgender colors. So congratulations, we'll see you in June.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Are there any other remarks from the public? Hearing none. Any remarks from the trustees?
I'd just like to thank those who, most of you did not know that I had unexpected emergency surgery. Well, if it's unexpected, it is an emergency. But to that end, there's nothing like being back here in this room, in the Patterson room. Gloven, Zoom is fine, but it's great to be back here. So hopefully we'll see you soon too.
Okay, it's nice and warm down here, though. That's okay. I'll be back.
Most of you did not know, but those few that did, I thank you for calling and checking on me. And my dentist will tell all of you, I did not have to take a bite out of his crown. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move it.
Second. All right, roll.
Trustee Drakeford,
Yes.
trustee Glovin,
Yes.
trustee Piattone,
Yes.
trustee Moody,
Yes.
trustee Poe.
Yes.
Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yeah.
vice chair Dennis,
Yes.
chairman Martin.
Yes.
You're adjourned.
Thank you.
Take care, all.
Bye.
Good to see you, Michael. See you tomorrow night, Michael.